Hi guys! In today's video, I'm going to be doing a tutorial slash how-to all about blending. I got a couple comments in some of my videos. I'm not sure if they were tutorials. I think they were. And a few people wanted me to do a video all about blending eyeshadows, so I'm going to be doing that today. Also this year I'm going to start doing a series for like tips for beginners if you're starting out with makeup, or if you don't necessarily know how to do certain things but you know how to do other things. So I'm going to be putting together like a little series for beginner friendly tips and tricks and things like that. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys just my tips for blending eyeshadow. That is probably the hardest thing when it comes to makeup application, and it's something that I've just recently gotten good at probably over the past year and a half. It's definitely something that takes a lot of practice, using the right tools and the right techniques. So I'm going to show you guys today how I blend my eyeshadows and give you some tips and tricks using my new Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette, because you guys know I'm obsessed with this one. So if you'd like to see my tips, please keep watching. Okay, so the first thing you want to make sure you have in your arsenal, if you're going to start doing more eye looks and you want to know about proper blending, you're going to want to make sure you have a good collection of brushes. Now, I did do a video all about my favorite brushes, which I will link down below. But I'm also going to be sharing a couple of those with you guys in this video with respect to the proper way to use them and what effect you're going to get with them. I'm just going to show you some of my favorite brushes. The first brush that I think everybody needs in their brush kit or in their arsenal of brushes would be an all-over shadow brush. And this is what it looks like. It's basically just a flat shader brush, and this is really good for putting color directly on your lid, packing the color on. So you're gonna need a shader brush. I like having two of these, one for lighter colors and one for darker colors, because when you're doing different looks, I don't like to mix shades. And I'm sorry if I sound sick. If you've been watching my vlogs, you know I've been battling a cold for a couple of weeks, so I'm sorry if I sound a little nasally. The second kind of brush I think is really essential would be blending brushes, and I have 3 different kinds to show you guys. So the first, oh, and then this brush is a MAC 239. I will leave everything listed down below as always. The first blending brush I think is good to have is the MAC 217. This is probably one of the very first brushes that I ever got years ago when I was in college. And this is like the quintessential brush. I think if you could only do makeup with a couple brushes, this would be one of them. It's a pretty dense brush that is kind of thin width-wise, and it's really good for blending out colors. This is just going to be your typical blending brush. I like this more for blending out the crease colors though. The second brush I'm going to talk about is a tapered blending brush, if you can see it. And this is a Sephora Pro Tapered Crease brush number 19. And if you'll notice, it's tapered to a point. This is really good if you have hooded eyes. So when looking at my eyes, looking straight on, a lot of my lid is kind of up here. So a lot of times people with hooded eyes have trouble applying eyeshadow because their whole entire lid is pretty much hidden when your eyes are open. So this is really good for kind of getting into that very tight crease space and blending out colors. I recently acquired this brush probably within the past 6 or 7, well, or 8 months, because I was still working at Sephora, and it's one of my favorites. And the last blending brush that I think is essential is a really fluffy blending brush. And if you can see the difference between the MAC one, well, I don't know if you can see, but this one is a lot more stiff and this one is very flexible. This is really nice for applying an all-over wash of color to your lid. Sometimes I just do one eyeshadow look. I'll take like a bronzy shadow and dust it all over my lid. It's also really good for blending out colors from your crease to your brow bone. It's good for diffusing a smoky eye. Like, this is probably the other brush that I think is really essential and that I really love. And then I think it's important to have a very loosely packed bristled brush for applying your highlight. So another thing I want to talk about, which is kind of what I touched on in my favorite brush video or essential brushes, the type of brush you're going to want is going to depend on 2 factors: the type of product you're using, and the look you want to get. So when using cream products, it's good to use synthetic bristles, one like this. When using powder products, it's good to use natural hair bristles, and that's because the synthetic bristles don't really hang on to product like a natural hair brush would. So you're going to get a better application of a cream type of product with a synthetic bristle brush, which is why most foundations look duo fibered, because they're usually synthetic hair and they work better with your emollient or liquidy or cream products. And the second factor that you want to take into consideration is the look that you want. So for a more diffused look, meaning for a lighter coverage, you're going to want something that's very flexible, something that's not too tightly packed. If you're going for a more full coverage look, whether it be foundation or high intensity eyeshadow, you're going to want to use a brush with bristles that are very tightly packed. So the closer together the bristles are packed, the more tightly they're packed, the more intense color and pigmentation you're going to get, and the more loosely they are packed, you're going to get a more diffused look. So those are two things to take into consideration when you're deciding what type of foundation brush you want, what type of eye brush you want. And yeah, so let's see, any more tips I have before I show you? I think that's about it. Another product you're going to want that's very essential when doing eyeshadow is going to be an eyeshadow primer. This is the Smashbox 24-hour eye primer, and an eyeshadow primer is essential for everyone, I think, if you are going to use an eyeshadow, because my hair is just like such a mess, because it's going to help increase the longevity of your eye looks, and it's also going to help prevent creasing if you have oily lids like myself. So a really good eye primer is essential. I've tried everything from Urban Decay Primer Potion to Face Shadow Insurance. Those didn't work for me. They were a little too oily, but this one I found to be my holy grail. Okay, so now let's get into the application tips. So the first tip is something that I learned probably a couple of weeks ago. Like I always tell people, learning all about makeup and beauty, it's a constant ongoing process. I don't call myself an expert by any means. So the first thing is going to be applying an all over flesh toned matte color. So using this palette, I'm going to pick Almond Truffle, which is like a neutral skin tone color, and I'm going to apply that with a fluffy brush because I want an all over color, and this is just going to help my other shadows blend into each other better. But first, I forgot, let me prime my lids. Actually, I think I'm going to use Mocha, which is a little deeper. Now, this is going to act as your base color. Some people like using foundations. I don't, just because foundations usually have some type of emollient product in it. But a matte eyeshadow is completely matte. It's dry. So I'm just going to apply this from my lash line to my eyebrows. And this is just going to serve as a base, so that all the other shadows have something within the same texture family to blend into. And like I said, this is something that I just started doing recently, and I think it does make a difference. And I'm taking this color all the way from my inner tear duct to the outer edge, kind of following the line going up to my eyebrow. Okay, so now you see how I have that all over base color. I'm gonna do the same on this eye. Now, what I really love about doing this first step before applying all other colors is that if you were to take a shimmery color and put it right on top of your eye primer is kind of emollient. So by putting the first base of an eyeshadow down, you kind of just start out with an even canvas for all the other colors to blend into because they have a similar texture. So now I'm going to take a flat shader brush, and I'm going to go into a shimmery gold color. I'm using Molasses Chip at the top. I tend to love bronzy colors. I think they look really nice on my eyes. A good tip for applying colors to your lid, which is where we usually want the most color intensity, you're gonna wanna use a densely packed brush. And I like to tap into the color and then tap on my eye. That way I get the full intensity of the color. And because I have hooded lids, sometimes I have to go a little above my crease for the color to actually show when my eye is open. And once again, you want to take that from the inner corner to your crease all the way out to your outer corner. And see how brightly pigmented or highly pigmented that color is? That's because we use a tapping motion. And a good way to find your crease is by closing your eye and kind of just feeling where the edge of your eyeball is. That's going to be your crease. So now we have our eyeshadow all over our lid. We've used a densely packed brush so that we get great color intensity. And now I'm going to use something like a crease brush that also has densely packed bristles to just blend that color out. I'm not going to put any eyeshadow on the brush. I just want to diffuse the color so there's not a harsh line. And it's going to blend really nicely into the all over shadow color that we put down first. Now, when you're gonna blend colors on the crease to diffuse them, you kind of want to go in windshield wiper motions and then in circular motions. Okay, I don't know if you can tell, but this probably looks a lot more blended out and natural than this eye. So I'm just going to do the same thing to that eye using windshield wiper motions and going in little circles. I also got a tip once from, I think her name is Stephanie, but her YouTube username, I think is Stephala, and she gave the tip one day to hold your brush at the end because you have less control of your brush, and so you'll get more diffused lines and you won't have such harsh eyeshadow looks. I don't know if I said that the right way, but I think you guys probably will understand. Okay, so now we have our all over color. I'm going to go into my tapered crease brush, which I said is really good for that crease. And I'm gonna go into the color Malted, which is just a deep brown, but it looks like it might have some shimmer into it. I'm gonna tap the color in about 4 or 5 times, and I'm going to go right into that crease. And because I have hooded eyes, first to place the color, I like to just wiggle it. And when doing, because I guess I'm doing like a smoky eye, you wanna concentrate your smokiness from like the middle of your eye on out. So I'm just going right into that crease line and wiggling the color back and forth. You can also take it down to make a little C shaped. Okay, so you can already see the smokiness between this eye and this eye. I'm gonna do that again with my left eye. Once again, just wiggling it in the crease area. And these are basically all the steps that I use in tutorials that I sometimes edit out, just because I think for most people, you just want to see a general idea of how to do the look. You don't really want to sit through 15 hours of me talking. But since this is more of a tutorial instructional video, I'm gonna go really in depth. So after I've laid that color, I'm going to pull my MAC 224, which is a loosely packed brush. So it's gonna give me really diffused look, and I'm just gonna blend out that crease color. I hope this is probably not close enough, but I'm just gonna blend that out. And that's so that your deep brown color won't look too intense. But with blending, sometimes you lose intensity, so I'm gonna go in with my Sigma 224, which is a short bristled, densely packed brush that's gonna give me a lot of payout. And I'm just gonna tap that kind of in this little triangular area. Then now I'm gonna go back in with my MAC 224 and just blend this out. And this is with no product on it. Now, another tip for pulling together your eye makeup look and making it look really nice is to apply liner, lashes, and mascara. I'm not gonna do all that in this video, though I will do mascara, but Putting something on your lashes just really transforms your whole makeup look. I know really intense smoky eye looks with mascara and with false lashes, they look so much more put together, polished, and dramatic with the lashes on. So that's also another tip. And I do have a video about applying lashes, which I will I'll link that video down below as well. So now we pretty much have all our colors blended. The last step that I like to do is take this oh, I'm getting tongue-tied. Take this synthetic hair crease brush. This is a Sephora Smokey Crease brush number 31. And I'm gonna go into my palette with Almond Truffle, which is a little lighter than the first color we used. I'm gonna tap in that. This brush gives you a really nice airbrushed crease look. So I'm gonna go kind of on top of that crease color and just blend everything out so that up to my brow bone, it looks more diffused and natural. And blending is something that you will get better with in time. I promise you guys. If I could show you photos from what it looked like when I first started working at Sephora and when I ended, I got so much better with makeup application just through practice, practice, practice. And when I was in college and I started wearing makeup, I looked even more hideous. So if you are having problems with blending, stick with it. It will get easier the more you do makeup. So that's probably my biggest tip, is just practice, practice, practice. And that goes with liner, lashes, everything. So my last step for eye makeup is always to do my brow highlight. And with this palette, I'm going to use Divinity, which is just a matte neutral color. And once again, I'm going to be using this very loosely packed flimsy brush because I want kind of just a nice color under my eyebrow. I don't want it to be too intense. And I'm just going to place that from kind of 3/4 of the way in to the tail. Okay. Then I'm just gonna go back into that color that I used to diffuse my crease and just make sure everything is nicely blended out. Okay, so that is pretty much how I blend my eyeshadows. I'm gonna come back to you guys with some mascara on because I know I probably look a hot mess. Okay guys, I am back. I have applied mascara and I think that just really pulls the look all together. So I just finished running. Definitely let me know if this video was helpful for you. I hope that it will be. The main thing I want to stress is just, it's all about the brushes you pick, where you apply the product, and then practice really does make perfect. Not to say that I'm perfect by any means, but the more you do it, the better you will get at it. So if you guys have any more videos you want me to do as far as beginner friendly makeup, different how-to videos, anything like that, leave them down below because I want to do more of those this year. And yeah, give me feedback. Do you guys like these kind of videos? Was it helpful? Anything like that, that would be great. So at least I can know that this video helped somebody. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to share with you guys today. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.